Well, welcome everyone to That Yearbook podcast with those yearbook people. We are in season 2, episode 7. This year is flying by. Like I
Time is flying
I
by.
don't know where it's going. I was like, isn't this like episode 3, 4? Nope, it's episode 7, which means we're closing in. Like books are finishing, right?
Boom.
Things are getting done. It's exciting.
I was just in Alaska doing a workshop last week, and some of them get their books next week.
That's crazy. We already had some starting to deliver. Like they're shipping right now. It's nuts.
They're shipping. Yeah.
And I have to say, Jim doesn't know this, but he was out in Alaska doing a workshop with the rep out there, Matt Holmes, and Matt sent me a picture and Jim was wearing reindeer pants. So he was all into the Alaskan vibe.
Oh boy.
I'm like, he is
Jim likes
full
the
on
theme.
into like moose, reindeer, the wintry north. Like I appreciated that. You're always on theme, Jim.
But I've got to tell you, there's one thing when you go to Alaska, the dream is to see a moose.
Yeah.
And there's an old story between all of us where our beloved Mike Taylor went up to Alaska and he wanted to see a moose so bad. And Matt took him everywhere, up the hills, everywhere. He took him back on the airplane. And as soon as he got on the airplane, Matt saw a moose. He never saw a moose.
Literally crossing the street. Like there was a moose downtown, like crossing the street. Yeah. Mike missed it. He did see one in Maine, though. He did see one.
He did see one in Maine, but never in Alaska. And so I think Mike is pretty happy right now
that
I didn't see a moose. We looked everywhere.
Absolutely.
And there was
nothing.
So
he's like, if I'm not seeing a moose, no one's seeing a moose.
Seeing it.
That's right.
Mike is O for moose and I'm O for moose. So
awesome. Well, we know what Jim has been up to. So I'm here, Sabrina Schmitz. We've got Jim Jordan with us today, and then we have a special guest, the fabulous creative genius Stephanie Stryker. Thanks for being here with us, Steph. We're so excited.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here talking about one of my absolute favorite things with some of my favorite people.
I love it. Yes. So we are going to be talking about trends today. That's kind of the big topic. And that topic comes up a lot this time of year. Everybody's like, it's honestly my favorite time of year. It's clean slate, right? Like books are done. They're shipping in theory. You stragglers out there, finish up, get those puppies done. But yeah, they're done. And so now it's like blank slate, right? Anything is possible. That's the most exciting time. And so this is the time of year where everybody's like, what's new? What's happening out there? What things should we be thinking about as we're starting to, plan for 2026, which is crazy. So we wanted to bring in the expert in the area of design and trends and all things creative, Steph. And so Steph, tell us a little bit about how did you become the expert in design and trends and all of these wonderful things?
Oh, man, I think a lot of it is just wherever I go, I take it all in. So I graduated from college and I had a degree in marketing and graphic design. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So then it came down to either joining Walsworth, who was my yearbook publisher in high school, or selling plumbing equipment. It felt a little obvious given my background and my
plumbing equipment?
Yeah.
Why plumbing equipment?
It's just, that's the hot thing to sell. Everybody needs it.
That's it. Just
up
those are my
in
options.
Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
Some people have passion projects, and that's one of them.
And that was yours. That was it.
Yeah. But with my background, I've always loved photography and design, and I was like, you know what, yearbook makes sense. I loved high school. I did yearbook in high school. So I joined Walsworth, and my first assignment, I guess you could say, or where I was placed, the territory I supported was in Eastern Pennsylvania, which was the most fun. I still work with a school out there, High Elko. And then I wanted to move back home. because if you couldn't tell, I'm from Wisconsin, based on my accent that I allegedly have. I learned that from Walsworth pretty quick. So I moved to Minnesota and serviced Minnesota and Western Wisconsin, where I was a rep for a few additional years. I loved being in with the schools, creating the yearbooks, getting behind really what makes a school tick so that the theme could really represent that school in the specific year. But I love being behind my computer. I want to be the one creating the books as well. So luckily, with one silver lining out of the pandemic, I was able to start working remotely for Walsworth at graphic design. So I'm still working out of Milwaukee, but I work with all the amazing folks at Walsworth down there in Overland Park. So I've been doing this for about 5 years now.
That's amazing. Like Steph does everything from like designing, like those of you who have seen the Possibilities book, she designs that, the cover, all of those ideas like really come. Steph generates a lot of that. I know there's a whole team of people that works on that, but Steph really drives a lot of that look. All of our marketing, like our workshop stuff, you know, when you see all these things advertising for Elite Weekends and Advisor Academy, like Steph's behind all of that. So cool job. All of you seniors like looking to, you know, graduate. You've got like the coolest job, Steph. That's awesome.
And you know, Steph, I kind of had to create it for myself. So I'm very, very happy to be here.
I love that.
And Steph, one thing about her as a graphic designer, because, you know, we've worked with a lot of different people, she never misses. Her creative sense is so well defined and so amazing, on point with where we are right now. I just can't wait to see what she's going to come up with next. And the other thing she does for you graphic designers out there, she floods you with possibilities, with examples. If you don't like this, do you like this? We're going to show you a little bit later a sequence that she did last year for last year's summer trends, where literally she came up with 20 different looks. And when I went back and looked at them again, any of those looks we could have picked for the look of the summer. We could have. But the one that we did pick, the one that she did like most, was the perfect one. So one more thing about that though. So you're kind of saying, Steph, you are self-taught in a lot of ways.
Wait, so I feel like I learned the most from teaching schools yearbook and learning from those students and what they thought was cool and what made sense from the advisors. Like, we need to start with hierarchy, our dominant, and then our lighter elements on the outside. So really I am self-taught. And then I have a really great supervisor here at Walsworth who knows everything about the Adobe Creative Cloud. So if there's anything technical you need to learn, can quick just butt heads together. But I think, Jim, really what it is having an idea, starting on it. When you have a little tangent that goes off, you start developing that, go back to your original, develop another one. So it's just constantly letting your brain just fly with it, because what could look really cool might just not make sense for your audience. And we'll talk about that with the workshop look. And as Sabrina said, that's one of my babies, is doing the workshop look every year. Possibilities. I've done 2 volumes now. We're going to start volume 11 this summer. So
we're pumped.
Excited.
Yay.
We'll be there.
More book forts. Yay. I'm excited.
More book forts.
And that's just a great thing for kids to know out there, you students to know out there, that you can do it. If you have the talent and you have the eyes and you want to play and go on those mini journeys, you really can develop a strong graphic sense that can make your book really look as trendy, as solid as any publication in the country. So this is a path, if you're willing to explore, it's open to you. And that's one thing I love about Yearbook is, in all of you out there, you advisors and particularly you students, this process opens up creative windows in your life that you didn't know you had. And I love when that happens.
Yeah. And the other thing I took away from that, Steph, was for those of you listening out there, when we're in this process of coming up with themes and looking at trends and looking at verbal trends and visual trends and yearbook trends and all of that stuff, Steph said it was a process, right? It was a journey. It wasn't like she designed the first thing and went, okay, this is it, we're done, and moving on. She had multiple different options, and then she tried something, and then she tried something else, and then tried something else, and played with it. So give yourself the time to play. You do not need to be getting married to any ideas right this second. It is early. We've got time. Start now so that you have the time to play. but give yourself that time to play so that you've got all of these options, and then you can pick the best one, your favorite one.
Yes.
And Steph said something earlier that I want to make sure we highlight there. This could be your yearbook theme for that matter. What she said early on was, wherever you go, take it all in. And that's the key to knowing about trends, to being a great yearbook student, to being a great graphic designer. Wherever you go, you're looking for inspiration. You're looking for things that you can start that creative playing process.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Are there any suggestions that you guys have for like how staffs can start gathering trends and what they're seeing out there and pulling some of that stuff together so that they can really make the get the most bang for the buck, right? Like,
Yeah.
we say these things, but like when I see something, like, what do I do with that? If I like it, do I store it somewhere? Do I share it with my staff? What does that process look like to you guys?
I think, well, and this is one of my favorite places for inspiration is Target, because all these skincare and beauty brands are killing it with their branding. And it's just so inspirational. And we'll talk about that a little bit in our trends video, but I think take a picture of it. If there's something that speaks to you, take a picture of it. It could be a postcard. It could be, face wash in the beauty aisle. It could be a pack of chips. Take a picture of it, because you might say, hey, this is cool. I have no idea how it's going to translate onto a yearbook page. And that's kind of the point of the process, because we're going to design a cover and it's going to look awesome. And you're going to be like, okay, well, this looks cool, but does it make sense on a page? You're going to get through that process eventually. So I think you need to take everything in, like Jim was just saying, soak it all in. And it's also going to take a point of, okay, but then what does my audience like? You have to constantly gain feedback from your audience and being like, what really resonates with them? And sometimes you have to like put something together to say like, this is really cool. And they're like, okay, yes, but it's not really feeling the personality. It's not the message and the tone. And we're not even there yet. It's just soaking it all in. Sabrina, I think they should take photos, put them in an album, maybe put them in a slideshow, being like, I'm really digging these fonts. I'm really digging these colors. And that's what this trends presentation is going to be about, is what to look for. Colors, typeface, composition, photo treatments, graphics. Okay, so knowing what to look for so that you can take it all in and start identifying what you think will work.
I think it's great, Steph. Absolutely. You kind of always have to be thinking like a yearbookie. If you're in Target, if you're at a restaurant, if you're looking at a billboard, if you're watching TV, like, you're always looking for those things, and then taking the time to stop, pause, take a picture, like Steph said, put it in an album. Maybe you and your yearbook staff have a shared album where you throw all this stuff. Maybe there's a time in your class where I used to do something where like each group was responsible for looking for a specific trend. Like, you guys are looking for type, you guys are looking for color, you guys are looking for layout, so that it's not so overwhelming. Give everyone a specific track, and then everybody brings it all back together and shares what they find. And now you've got everything kind of chunked in categories, and then you can pull what you want. So, but it all starts with just going out there and gathering.
And everybody on staff, and this is really true, everybody should have a portfolio. Now, it could be a folder in your phone. It could be a PowerPoint. It could be something on Basecamp or whatever. But make yourself aware of these things by saving them and taking those pictures of them. Yeah. And I just want to say this was amazing. The theme challenge, many of you've gone through this. We have a new version of it that we'll take out on the road. I did it just 2 days ago in Alaska, and some people don't find much in the process, but one of the main schools, they found their look. They found their color palette, and I think they even found their theme phrase. So when you're out there looking, amazing things are going to come your way. And I love that. I mean, as all my years advising, insert old joke for Jim right here. Come on.
Since Gutenberg.
Yeah, when I was doing yearbooks with Gutenberg. But I love that. I still get excited about watching TV. My wife gets so mad at me. We have to stop the tape in the middle of the show, and I have to record something or take pictures of it.
I also have to insert an old joke here because Jim just said stop the tape. Can't let that slide.
Oh, we don't have a VCR. That's right. But that's good. One other thing I want to jump in about with trends here too is don't neglect what I call the foundational trends. There are some things that we want to see in every yearbook that never go out of style. So there really are kind of trends, things like, using your grid, which we talked about last time, dominance, great photography, contrast, balance, all those kind of things. You want to have those down first before you put that frosting on your cake.
Yeah, I like the frosting on the cake thing because the trends thing, and this is kind of a different topic really, but this is one of the first things everybody wants to know, right? Like they
That's
immediately
right.
want to jump into trends. And most of the time when we say trends, we're all really thinking visual trends, right? Colors, type, fonts, layouts, photo treatments, graphics, all that kind of stuff. And that is the fun stuff. I get it. Like that's where I want to go too. Like it is the fun stuff.
Yeah.
But really, it can't be the first thing, right? Like it has to be kind of the second part to your brainstorming process, because really we always say words first. Find your words first. Now, maybe you go look for verbal trends, and maybe like the theme challenge, like Jim was talking about, you start flipping through magazines and you start looking for phrases that are current, but not necessarily ones that'll be gone in 5 minutes, like all the Riz and all that stuff. Here and gone. But you know what I mean? Like finding those verbal phrases that have the longevity that next spring when the book comes out, it'll still be current. Look for verbal phrases and those things first, and then go hunting for visual trends that will support that idea. That will also minimize how overwhelmed we can get with visual stuff. Steph, have you ever experienced that overwhelming? Like, there's so many ideas, I don't know where to begin.
So many ideas, but really, and I like your point where you have to find the verbal first, because that verbal is also going to drive the personality of what your visual is going to look like. So if we'll talk about, heart and soul, our workshop theme last year, that was our verbal. We had that. You know how many different directions you can take heart and soul? Man, so then you're like, okay, I can start narrowing it down based on what personality, what message and tone I want heart and soul to deliver. Okay, is it something that's going to be bright and bubbly, or something a little bit more mature and refined? So you really have to have that guiding light, that verbal, before you can start decorating it. Okay. And that's just crucial, because you are going to get so overwhelmed. You're going to say, I want to do bold colors, but also magazine cutouts, and also this, and also duotone. It's like, whoa. How are we supporting the message you're trying to portray without just throwing it all on a page? Then it's overwhelming and your message gets lost.
Yeah, I love what you said, guiding light. Like the verbal is the guide. It's the new theme. It's the guiding light to everything is your verbal. I love that, because it's very true. Having too many ideas is just as bad as having no ideas, And so I think something I used to do in the classroom was we would look at inspiration for like 5 minutes at the beginning of class, like a limited amount of time, see what you can find, look for inspiration just to get your mind thinking creatively, and then jump into work. So that way you're not too overwhelmed with ideas, but you're actually getting some like creative juices flowing, but just so that you're not too overwhelmed, because the old saying is creativity thrives under constraints, right? So the more constraints you give, the more creative you are. So sometimes when you find that verbal theme first, that's your constraints. That's, instead of everything is possible, here's my little world I'm working in, and now I can find stuff that supports that.
And Steph said this too. Steph, you're full of so many great phrases here today. It's unbelievable. The other important thing you just said was you have to know your message. What is the message you're trying to give out to your audience? And that's why we are always telling everyone you need to write your theme copy early in the process. Now, that theme copy can change, but the theme copy is where you're playing with what your message really is. And I've seen it again. So many schools are writing their theme copy in February, March, and even April. How can that happen? You should have something on the page at least long before this, because that helps you know your message, which will then drive your visual look. And that's the order it should go in.
Right, exactly. Just because it's trendy doesn't mean it's going to work for your school and your theme and we see that a lot too. Like, this is cool. I'm like, I know it's cool, but it doesn't have anything to do with your theme. So you've got to find both of those. And it is a lot easier to have that message and find cool, trendy things that fit that message than to
That's right.
find this cool, trendy photo treatment or graphic or font or something like that, and then try to find a verbal that fits with that. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not impossible, but it's a lot harder.
Absolutely. You really have to work to adapt what it is you're seeing out there in the marketplace to fit your brand and your voice and your particular school, because your school in this particular year is going to be very different from a school on the West Coast or in the middle of a cornfield in Wisconsin versus on the coast in South Carolina. Like, it has to be so specific to your school, and the trends are happening everywhere. So if everyone's doing the same thing, how is your book standing out?
Right. Exactly. You've got, and we do sometimes see people picking up on trends like the variable type thing that started a couple
Yeah.
years back. And all of a sudden it was like two books on opposite sides of the country that do not talk to each other were like pulling the same type because they saw it out in the marketplace, in the world. They saw it on ESPN, they saw it on, different commercials and whatnot, this like stretched type and variable type. And so they pulled it into their yearbooks. But those are staffs who found a trend and capitalized on it early. So even though
Yes.
we want you to be innovative and trendy, we also have to yearbookize it and make sure it fits with our
That's
theme
right.
and our message.
Yearbookize it. That's a
Mhm.
good
And
one.
it's really easy to just get little pieces of looks and never really work about how that can go onto a yearbook spread. So
Yeah.
quite often, a lot of portfolios have cool stuff, but then you have to work hard to translate it into the format of a double
Yes.
page spread. And that's where we want to see you put a lot of work in, even in the summer. All of you designers out there should be playing with these things on double page spreads early in the process.
Yeah.
Jim, I would almost argue that you should start with your trends on a spread to make
Yeah,
sure
I
it
would-
makes sense in a headline. It makes sense in our coverage headline this small, but it still has
right.
an impact. How can
Yes.
we vary it from page to page? Okay, it works. How can we make it really loud now for our dividers, our openings, our cover?
I
Yes.
love that. Make it like start in
Yeah.
the small areas and then bring it out and make it loud. I think that's awesome advice because it's so true. You have to sight test these things. Just because it works here, like Jim was saying, doesn't mean it's going to always apply well in our world. So you have to see what that really looks like. I've seen a lot of people like pull these magazine spreads where it's a big full bleed portrait with just like a headline and they're like, we want to do this. And I was like, when that's a kid sitting at a desk under fluorescent lighting, it's not going to look as cool. Like, it's not going to have the same effect. So you have to think like, what would this look like on my actual spread once I execute it, and then decide, is it working, is it not, before you do these big grand things and commit to something.
Yeah, and to me, this is a timeline issue too. You need to start doing this in the spring. You need to continue it in the summer. And if some of you come to Elite Weekend, we want you to come and have those kind of those playing with different ideas, have those with you, and we can help coach you through to what we think fits best with your message.
Yep. And be innovative with it. And something else we've got for you guys to check out in the meantime, and now's really a great time of year to start looking at these, is we just finished doing all the President's Collection videos. So Jim and I went through all of our 34 award-winning books. Yes, and so we went through all of them and pulled out, what was working, why they were successful, like what things we loved that they were doing that was unique and different. And a good rule of thumb is we do not want to copy what other books have done because it's already been done, right? Like, we want you to find some other trends out there, find some new innovative things, but it never hurts to go back and look at what those books are doing that are successful. And maybe there are some things that can inspire you. There are some trends that you're seeing in some of those books, even theme concept wise, not necessarily always visually, but like there was a time 2 years ago where I felt like every theme I saw was very personal to the school, right? It had something to do with like a chant that school had, or some common saying on that campus, and they were pulling that out to be their theme. Like, that's a trend. It's a verbal trend, it's a theme trend, but it's still a trend. And so like maybe looking through those President's Collection videos, you can start getting some ideas of what trends you want to go out there and hunt for, or you might pick up on some other trends that you maybe haven't used at your school that you want to implement for 2026.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
well, I am excited to jump into this new trends video. Y'all, We've seen it and it is so cool. Steph's got all kinds of stuff in here for you guys. So we're really excited to take a look at that, what those trends are, kind of some of that process and how Steph like plays with some of those ideas and what that design journey looks like. But we're super excited. And Jim just mentioned Elite Weekend. So we are just getting some of that information out there. Be on the lookout. Elite weekends are coming up in September, so we have to start planning now. If you haven't been to an Elite weekend, talk to your rep. You need to get there because that's where you take all these trends and ideas, pull them together, and really skyrocket them to the next level.
Although we have to remember, it's not Elite Weekend anymore. It's the Mike Taylor Elite Weekend experience.
Yes.
Absolutely. Everyone is a unique location where I'm not kidding you, magic happens every year. And Sabrina and I get the great privilege of working with you out there. And then when the books come in, I have seen previews of some 2025 yearbooks that are stunning. I mean, the work you guys are doing out there, you are in the process, you are working hard, and you are creating magic. And I can't wait to start showing all your great work to everybody around the country because it's just that good.
This is why it's the best time of year. We get to celebrate all the great stuff that has already been created, and then we get to start thinking freely about all the new stuff we're going to create for 26. Is there a better time of year?
No, this is our winter break here. This is our holiday. We're getting boxes of books from across the country.
Yes.
And when the book comes out, when the book delivers, it's Christmas, New Year's Eve, the 4th of July, all rolled into one.
All of it.
Yes.
All the fun. Well, thanks, Steph, for being on That Yearbook podcast with us. We loved it. You're amazing. If you are listening to this podcast, make sure you go and check out the training video that's coming with it, all on
34.
Trend, so you can see all of these things that we've been talking about. Check out those Presents Collection videos. Sign up for an Elite Weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to That Yearbook podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your preferred platform. Happy yearbooking!